Hello there, mathematicians. It's Mrs. Coleman here. We are going to continue our work with telling time. But today, we're going to learn something called telling time to the half hour. Before we get into it, let's warm up our brains. There are two different types of clocks. The first type of clock on the left side is called an analog clock. This type of clock shows a face with 12 numbers, 1 through 12, going around in a circle, and will have an hour hand, minute hand, and sometimes a second hand. The second type of clock is called a digital clock. That's shown on the right side. And that is a clock that only shows numbers telling the time. And on an analog clock, the part that tells what hour it is the shorthand. And on the digital clock, the part that tells the hour is the first number you see. And the minute hand on the analog clock is the long hand. And the part that shows the minutes on the digital clock are the numbers that come after the two dots. Let's do some learning now. The first math session where we learned how to tell time, we learned how to tell time to the exact hour. So for example, the hour hand is pointing directly at the 9 and the minute hand is pointing directly at the 12. So this clock reads 9 o'clock. But clocks don't always look exactly like this. Sometimes you'll find the minute hand somewhere else on the clock, and sometimes you'll find the hour hand pointing between two numbers. So I'm going to first talk about how to tell time past the hour, and then we're all going to practice how to tell time a half hour past the hour. Let's do it. When we look at this clock is showing that it's 7 o'clock, right on the dot. But what happens is every 60 seconds, 1 minute goes by. So after 60 seconds, we have 1 minute past 7 o'clock. And then another minute will go by, and it's 2 minutes past 7 o'clock. And then another minute will go by, it will be 3 minutes past 7. And then 4 minutes past 7, and then 5 minutes past 7. I know it's on the 1, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes have gone by. 5 minutes past 7, or you can say 7:05. And then another minute will have gone by, 6 minutes past 7 o'clock. Then 7 minutes past 7 o'clock. 8 minutes have gone by. 9 minutes past the hour. And then 10 minutes have gone past 7 o'clock. We call this 7:10. It means 10 minutes went past the hour of 7 o'clock. And then if you keep going, it's 15 minutes past 7 o'clock, 7:15. 20 minutes have gone past 7 o'clock, 7:20. Then 25 minutes have gone past 7 o'clock, 7:25. You'll start to notice the hour hand has been moving past the 7 because it's approaching 8 o'clock. This is what we call 7:30, 30 minutes past the clock. And then 7:35, 35 minutes after 7. 7:40, 7:45, 7:50, 7:55. 55 minutes have gone past 7 o'clock. And then when we reach back up at the 12, it means 60 minutes have gone past 7 o'clock. Or if you look, it's 8 o'clock. So I just showed you how the clock works when the minute hand goes past the exact hour. And today we're going to learn how to tell time half past the hour. Half means when you take something and you split it into two equal parts. What helps me remember the word half is thinking about a pizza or pie. When you take half a pizza or half a pie. It's kind of the same thing, taking this clock and splitting it in half. So right now, this clock shows 8 o'clock. And what happens if we go half of the clock, that's 30 minutes. 30 minutes have gone by. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So this clock shows 8:30. Now that you have an idea about how the clock works and a little bit of knowledge about how to tell time to the half hour, it's time to practice together. You need to get some materials. I got a whiteboard marker, and an eraser. Here are some options of things you can get. You can also use a whiteboard and a dry erase marker, or you can use a paper and a writing tool, shaving cream, rice in a pan, or use your finger in the air. When I say pause, go get the materials you would like to use and come back so we can start practicing. Pause. Welcome back. Here's how this will go. On the screen, we're going to see an analog clock. Our job is to try to read it, find out what time it is, and write it in the digital form. Let's get started. So let's look at the hour hand first. It looks like it's pointing in between the 2 and the 3. What that means is it just got done being 2 o'clock. So when it's between two numbers, choose the number that comes before. In this case, we're going to choose 2. So let's write down 2. Now let's put those 2 dots to separate the minutes from the hours. Now if you look at the minute hand, it went all the way from the 12 down to the 6. It went halfway across the clock. So halfway across the clock means 30 minutes went by. So when it's pointing to the 6, it means 30 minutes past the hour. So let's write 30. So I'm going to read the analog clock. That clock says 2:30. Now let's read the digital time. 2:30. 30 minutes went past 2 o'clock. Let's do it again. Let's first look at the hour hand, the shorthand. It looks like it's in between the 4 and the 5. Remember, choose the number that came first. In this case, 4 came first. It just got done being 4 o'clock. So let's write 4. And the minute hand, the long hand, was at the 12. So it was 4 o'clock and it went halfway down 30 minutes. So let's write 30. Separate them with 2 dots. And let's write 30. Let's read the analog and then the digital clock. 4:30. 4:30. Let's do it again. Let's start by looking at the short hour hand. It's in between the 9 and the 10. Which one are we going to choose? You're right, the 9. The 9 came first. Now let's look at the minute hand. It's at the 30-minute mark. It went half past 9. So let's write 30. Even though it's pointing at the 6, it means 30 minutes went past 9 o'clock. Let's read both clocks now. 9:30, 9:30. Let's do it again. Let's read. 10:30, 10:30. Now that we've had a chance to practice together, it's time to test yourself. To see what you know about telling time to the half hour, you're going to test yourself. On the screen, you will see an analog clock. On your own, I want you to first take a look at the short hour hand. It might be in between 2 numbers, so pick the number that came first. Then look at the long minute hand and see where it's pointing. If it's pointing down at the 6, that means 30 minutes went past that hour, or half past the hour. And then write down 30 minutes and see how you did. We'll try this 2 times. The answer is 3:30. 30 minutes went past 3 o'clock. The answer is 8:30. 30 minutes went past 8 o'clock. How did it go for you? Let's review our work from today. When you look at an analog clock, the first thing you do is look at the short hour hand. This one's pointing right at the 5. And then take a look at the long minute hand. This one's pointing straight up at the 12. So this clock reads 5 o'clock. But that minute hand is not always going to be there. It's going to move every minute. So 5:01, 5:02, 5:03, 5:04, 5:05. 5 minutes went past 5 o'clock. And when you see the minute hand all the way down at the 6, that means half of the clock went by, a half hour, half of the hour. So what you would do is you look at the hour hand and ask yourself, it's in between two numbers. Which one should I pick? Pick the one that came first, 5. And then it's pointing right at the 30-minute mark. So this time reads 5:30. 30 minutes went past 5 o'clock. Now let's talk about enrichment. If you want to get really good at learning how to tell time, one way you can do this is by creating a schedule for yourself for tomorrow. That means taking a piece of paper and writing down different times of the day and noting what activity you'll do at those times. Check out my schedule for tomorrow. At 7 o'clock, I plan to wake up. At 7:30, I'm going to eat breakfast. At 8 o'clock, I'm going to walk my dog Walter. At 9 o'clock, I'm going to do distance learning. At 12 o'clock, I plan to eat lunch. At 1 o'clock, I'm going to rest and watch TV. At 2:30, it's time to play. By 5:30, I would like to eat dinner. At 8 o'clock, I'm going to do some reading. Another way to master how to tell time is simply by constantly talking about time with your family, looking at the clock, always asking what time it is. And another way is to count by 5s. Counting by 5s helps you learn how to tell the time at any time of the day, not just when it's pointing up at the 12 or down at the 6. Let's talk about what we're going to do next time for math. On Wednesday, we are going to practice how to write from 1 all the way up to 100. We'll see you at our next session, mathematicians. Goodbye.